It can tonight reveal the true extent of germ warfare tests carried out in the southwest. Government documents show much of North and South Devon and parts of Somerset were used for experiments similar to those conducted off the Dorset coast during the 1960s.
An independent inquiry has already been ordered into the Dorset trials to determine whether or not they've affected people's health. In a few minutes, we'll be speaking exclusively to the man in charge of this inquiry. But first, our environment correspondent, Simon Hall, has this special report, which includes film of the trials never previously seen on television.
The germ warfare trials carried out in the 1960s and 70s were highly secret. This, previously unreleased film of the experiments as they happened. Their existence was revealed last year when secret documents were declassified. They were thought to be carried out mainly in Dorset. A spotlight investigation has, though, discovered they were far more widespread than was previously thought. Other trials tested how the germs would survive in different conditions in different areas. These were based not on releasing a gas, but instead on exposing a narrow thread of material coated with Ecoli to the air. These tests were carried out in January 1967. The threads were exposed first from a ship just off Ilfracombe, then on 5 other sites running through Somerset down to the sea off Dorset.
I think people, when they come to hear of this, will be concerned. For instance, I was in my 20s at this time, in the 60s, and I was just getting married, starting up a family. They'll be worried, will this have any implications on their health or the health of their children?
Concerns have been raised that the tests may have harmed people's health. In East Lulworth, in Dorset, 21 families say they have experienced miscarriages and children being born handicapped and with other health problems. Robin Southey was one of the scientists who carried out the experiments. His widow, Anne Reed, is pressing the government for a full investigation into the trials. For Robin Southey died at the age of 33 from a rare disease which led to a perforated stomach. His immune system was said to be almost ineffective. The couple had 2 sons. One died at 17 from a brain tumour, the other suffers serious health problems. Their daughter is healthy.
I was devastated. We had 3 little children. And with hindsight, there were questions I should have asked. But what else do you do when you've got 3 little children waiting at home and you have to go home and say, sorry, Daddy isn't coming home. He isn't better. And our lives were turned upside down.
The government has always maintained the trials were safe. It says the germs used were naturally occurring and were treated to make sure they could not be harmful. It's a view supported by many experts.
Well, health experts with the authority are looking all the time at the community and its health. And we've seen no evidence to date to identify any clusters of leukemia, any unusual health conditions which some people have said have been associated with these tests.
The experiments were carried out at the height of the Cold War. They were designed to assess Britain's vulnerability to a biological attack and to work on methods of defence. The fear, though, is whether some of the people the trials were intended to protect may in fact have been harmed by them. That's a question that should be answered within the next year, for the government has said an independent safety review of the experiments will be carried out by a leading microbiologist.
We've been told today that the man leading that independent inquiry into the germ warfare trials is Professor Brian Spratt, who's a microbiologist at Oxford University. Earlier, I asked him if he could reassure people that the inquiry would really have the muscle and the will to get to the truth.
Well, I believe so. I'm an independent academic microbiologist. I have no links with the Ministry of Defence. I wasn't chosen by the Ministry of Defence, so I think my independence is assured. I shall be reading a large amount of technical information about the trials that took place in the 60s and 70s, and I shall be consulting widely, not only with medical colleagues and with perhaps people that were actually involved in the trials from Porton Down, as it was then called. I should also be asking for written presentations from people in the south of England that want to give me presentations. I should be coming down to the south of England and talking to anybody who wants to talk to me. So I hope it'll be a wide-ranging and open and fair analysis of the safety issues of those trials.
Now, secrecy and delays with information have prompted much concern in the past. How swift and how open can this inquiry now be?
Well, I've got access to all of the files that are available, and I should be receiving those very shortly from the Ministry of Defence. And I've been asked to come to some conclusions and write a report within a time frame of 6 to 12 months, and I hope it'll be closer to 6 than to 12.
And the surprising information today that the trials weren't just in the Dorset area but beyond. Can you examine the other trials that we're now hearing about as part of your inquiry too?
Well, I can't give you a categorical answer to that. As I understand it, some of the paperwork that I will receive from the Ministry of Defence do include trials in the southwest of England, and if that is so, then certainly I'll look at those papers and make a judgment on them.
Professor, thank you.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to discuss the germ warfare trials, you can call your BBC local radio phone in. The number to call is 0645 222269. That's 0645 222269.